Most people look at a silent man and see a deficiency, a man with nothing to say, or worse, a man with nothing worth hearing. They mistake his quiet for emptiness, the way a locked vault looks from the outside, like an empty room. But that is a story the talkative tell themselves, so their own noise never has to be examined. It is easier to call silence a lack than to ask what your constant speaking is compensating for. Silence was never absence. It is a system, a calculated withholding, engineered to turn every word into a weapon instead of an exhale. Today, we take that machine apart. This is the economy of words, the law that value moves inversely to supply. Speech obeys the same rule as currency. A central bank that prints without limit does not make its nation richer. It devalues every note already in circulation. The more a currency floods a market, the less any single unit of it is trusted to mean anything. Words behave identically. A man who narrates every thought, reacts to every provocation, and fills every silence with commentary is doing this to himself. He is devaluing his own credibility one unnecessary sentence at a time, and the room notices long before he does. His words stop functioning as information. They start functioning as noise, background static. The room learns to tune out, the way a city dweller stops hearing traffic. The mechanism is immediate. For 1 week, before any sentence leaves your mouth, ask a single question. Does this need to exist, or does it only need to be said? Cut every sentence that fails the test, without exception. By the third day, you will notice how much of your speech was never information at all. It was anxiety dressed as conversation. The average man narrates his own existence out loud, spending his words before they earn interest. The silent man hoards them. When he finally chooses to spend, the room pays attention because it has learned he does not spend carelessly. Watch two men leave the same meeting. One replays every point he made, out loud to anyone still listening, seeking a second confirmation that his first performance landed. The other says nothing, and the room spends the walk back wondering what he actually thought. Silence did not cost him influence. It manufactured it. Now watch what happens a week later when a decision has to be made, and someone in the room says, quietly, "Let's see what he thinks first." That sentence was earned in the silence of the walk back, not in the meeting itself. That discipline of output leaves him with a surplus somewhere else entirely, and a surplus is worthless until something teaches him how to spend it. This is the listening advantage, the doctrine that a closed mouth is an open channel. The man who is not busy performing his own thoughts is the only man in the room actually receiving data. Cognitive load theory shows that speaking and encoding new information compete for the same limited channel of attention. A man mid-sentence is, by definition, not fully processing what is unfolding around him. His own voice is occupying the very bandwidth he would need to read the room. The silent man never divides that resource. He watches a table of 6 unfamiliar people and already knows who holds the real power, because he watched who glanced at whom before answering, who deferred, who was deferred to. The loudest man there has not finished his second sentence. The mechanism: in your next 5 conversations, wait 3 full seconds after the other person finishes speaking. In that gap, the one everyone else rushes to fill, real information arrives. Information a quick reply would have buried under your own voice. Most men find this gap unbearable at first. That discomfort is the tell. It means you have spent your whole life using speech to escape silence, rather than to transmit anything of value. The average man is already composing his rebuttal, while the other man is still mid-thought. The silent man is still gathering intelligence, and he will use it later when it is worth more. Negotiators know this instinctively. The side that talks first and talks most hands the other side a map of what it wants, what it fears losing, and how badly it wants the deal to close. The side that listens longest walks out with the leverage, and the other side never notices it left. Every concession in a negotiation is preceded by someone revealing, through words, what they cannot afford to lose. That intelligence is worth nothing, though, if it leaks straight back out through the face. This is emotional non-disclosure, the principle that what a man feels is intelligence, and intelligence handed to an opponent for free is a gift no strategist would make. The Stoics built their discipline around a simple distinction: control your judgments and reactions, and you control the only thing that was ever yours to begin with. Everything else, other men's opinions, the outcome of the negotiation, the insult that was intended to land, was never within your jurisdiction to begin with. A face that broadcasts every irritation, every private fear, every flicker of doubt, is a face an adversary reads for free. He pays nothing for information you handed him voluntarily, and he will use it at the exact moment it costs you the most. The mechanism, name the emotion, internally, the instant it rises. This is anger. This is fear. This is the sting of being disrespected before it reaches your expression. The act of naming interrupts the leak before it becomes visible to anyone else, converting a reflex into a choice. The average man's face is a live broadcast anyone nearby can tune into without his consent. The silent man's face is a locked door. He alone holds the key. This is not suppression. Suppression buries a feeling and lets it fester unaddressed, unresolved, until it resurfaces somewhere the man never intended it to. Non-disclosure processes the feeling privately, then decides, deliberately, exactly what the room is permitted to see. One is a wound left untreated. The other is a wound treated somewhere no one else was invited to watch. A locked door still has to occupy a room, though, and how a man occupies it is a discipline entirely its own. This is presence over noise. The law that command is never claimed through volume. It is claimed through stillness, because stillness forces a room to adjust itself around you rather than the reverse. Watch any predator at rest and you will notice the same pattern. Energy is spent only when it must be, and stillness itself becomes the signal that nothing here is anxious or depleted. Movement, in nature, is what prey does when it senses threat. Stillness is what nothing left to fear does. A man who fidgets, who fills every silence, who performs visible energy to prove he belongs, is broadcasting weakness. He believes he is broadcasting strength. The mechanism, in your next meeting or gathering, cut your movements and your words in half for the first 10 minutes. Let other men rush to fill the space while you simply occupy it. You will feel, immediately, the urge to perform your own presence. Resist it. The room does the performing for you once you stop competing with it. The average man performs confidence through motion and volume, hoping the performance is mistaken for the real thing. The silent man commands a room by making the room come to him. He spends almost nothing to get it. Notice who a nervous room actually watches. Not the man laughing loudest, the one who has not moved in a while because everyone is waiting to see what he decides. Watch a boardroom under pressure, and the pattern repeats exactly. The room's eyes drift, again and again, to the one person who has said the least. But stillness that never breaks is not strength. It is absence with better posture, which is exactly why the final piece governs not the silence itself, but the single word that ends it. This is the weight of the rare word, the doctrine that makes every prior law finally pay out its return. A man who has spent months speaking rarely has, without realizing it, built an account with enormous accumulated interest. When he finally speaks, the room does not merely hear him. It leans toward him, the way a market leans toward news from a source that has never once been wrong. Credibility works like a costly signal. The harder something is to fake, and the less often it is deployed, the more the room trusts it is real. A threat repeated constantly becomes a threat nobody fears. A promise made too easily becomes a promise nobody trusts. Scarcity is not a limitation on the rare word's power. It is the entire source of it. The mechanism: choose one meeting this week where you will speak only once. Make that single sentence the most deliberately considered thing you say all day. Watch carefully what happens to the room the moment you finally do. The pause before anyone responds, the way the topic doesn't move on immediately. The average man's words are wallpaper, present, constant, unnoticed, easily ignored. The silent man's words are gunfire, rare, sudden, and structurally impossible to ignore. 5 disciplines. 1 machine. Economy creates the reserve. Listening fills it with intelligence. Non-disclosure protects it. Presence broadcasts it without a sound. The rare word finally spends it at maximum value. Each law alone is a habit. Together, they are a system no room can out. Talk. None of this is a performance for other people. It is a private discipline that happens to become visible from the outside as strength. The men who notice it will call it charisma, because they have no other word for restraint. They have never practiced themselves. Drop the belief that your silence is something missing from you. Define the words you actually need before you reach for the 100 you don't. Adopt the discipline of the closed mouth, especially in rooms built to reward the open one. Build a reputation that walks into a room before you ever speak a single word inside it. Start treating every sentence as a withdrawal from a hard-earned account, never a free deposit into someone else's passing attention. Refuse to explain yourself to people who were never actually listening. Your silence is not an apology you owe them. The silent man was never absent. He was loaded.